Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, your host, speaking at you from Saturday, August 24th, 2024, in the space and time continuum. I usually record on Sunday, but I just couldn't wait. So it's Saturday, and what we're going to do is we're going to have some fun. Now, we're going to talk about how the Republican Party is doing one of two things. Members of the Republican Party, they're either completely going nuts, completely spinning out and unraveling, or they're joining the Democratic Party. Even if they don't switch their affiliation, even if they stay as a Republican, like people like Adam Kinzinger, who we're going to hear from a little bit, they're voting for Kamala Harris. They're joining the joy and the sanity and the American democracy. Because it's very clear to everybody that Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. He will shut down America's democracy. He keeps, we'll go through this. I got to kind of stick a little bit to my plans. But man, again, just a lot of fun. Like, here's one note: donuts with a exclamation point. A lot of you probably know what that means. They copy me. Now, that's something. You heard him say that Kamala Harris is copying him because she wants to have a policy that would stop taxing tips. He had some plans for that, except it was different. It was that anything could be called a tip. Hedge funds could be called a tip. Your lawyer could say that everything you pay to him is really just a tip. That's what Trump was after. Kamala Harris, of course, wants it to go to the waiters and waitresses and bartenders and service industry, low-income people. So her rules are different. But he says, she's copying me. I'm the one who made that up. It's my idea, and she's just copying me. Now, you might have heard about that story, but you may not have heard that now he said, Joe Biden said that he signed something on the beautiful Resolute desk. I'm the one who said that. He's copying me. I'm the one who called it the Resolute, the beautiful Resolute desk. I'm the one who called it that. And now Joe Biden's copying me. They copy me. That's all they do. They copy me. So that's, yeah. I don't know why anyone wants him to be. You can tell that, again, Trump knows nothing about the Resolute desk. And if you don't know, it was donated to the United States by the Queen of England at the time because the United States found an English ship called the Resolute that was lost. I don't think it was sunk. I think it was just lost. I don't know the whole story. But anyway, she made a desk out of some of the wood from the ship called the Resolute. And she donated it to the United States. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe it was in something like the 1880s or 90s. Okay, let's go down my Twitter feed here because I filled it with some things. Now, what we're doing is noticing how the Republican Party is unraveling, and we're having some fun with it. But we're also having some fun with how absolutely incredible the Democratic National Convention, DNC, this last week. One thing is, on the final night of the DNC, it drew an average of 26.2 million viewers across 15 networks, roughly 6 million more than the 3 nights prior. Still, the RNC from about a month ago pulled in about 14 million. So the fact that for the first 3 nights we had about 20 million already beats, I mean, you know how Donald Trump cares about his audience size. So already the DNC was just kicking the RNC's butt. Also, viewership surged during Kamala's speech. 28.9 million viewers tuning in from 10:31 p.m. to 11:11 p.m. Eastern time, and that's when she was doing her speech. A few minutes after her speech started, you could tell people were calling each other going, she's on, turn your TV on. So by 10:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday night, there were 28.9 million viewers watching her speech. Also, new reports show the Democratic National Convention raised over $100 million for Kamala Harris. $7.2 million between 11 p.m. and midnight on Thursday night. So that's basically, again, result of her speech. And then, like I just said, $100 million over just this week. The Kamala Harris campaign in 1 month has raised now probably exceedingly more than $500 million, $500 million. All right? Okay? And then here's what Donald Trump did right after the speech.
Taxes. She's going to give a tax increase of 4 to 5 times.
Yeah. He called into Fox News and kept pushing his buttons on his phone. He was in a panic, completely unraveling. There's another rant from another day. I may or may not play it. It's unbelievable. What else do I have going on here? Yeah. Here's somebody, Atticus Finch of Georgia, just a guy on Twitter. I don't really know much about him, not using his real name. But he said, before tonight, I plan to vote for Harris to stop Trump from winning. After tonight, I plan to vote for Harris because I want Harris to be the president of the United States. A lot of sentiment from other people very similar to that I have heard. Here was a funny Farhand Manjo, again, somebody using not their real name, but it doesn't matter. Here's their post after Kamala's speech. Nice speech, but she avoided all the tough issues, like electric boats versus sharks, low-flow toilets not flushing it all down. With wind power, you can't watch TV when the wind isn't blowing. And she gave no position on how she feels about Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, and then I put up a speech of Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan. There was also a great speech by the attorney general from Michigan, a great line where she said, the Republicans will have to come and tear this wedding ring off of this cold, dead, gay hand. That was a memorable line. Yeah. Simon Rosenberg writes, we have to keep an eye on Texas. So many non-voters of color in the state. Possibility for something magical with Kamala, a woman of color and a child of immigrants this year. Could wake the sleeping giant there. And we are seeing that the opponent to Ted Cruz is tied basically with him now and going up. So the down ballot results of Kamala as our nominee is a pretty big thing as well. Other things they're saying about Tim Walz. And I think they really got him on this one. I think this is going to be the downfall of Tim Walz. First of all, they lost their mind when Tim Walz said, I just have white guy tacos. Doing the Minnesota joke about how, here in Minnesota, we're afraid of spices. And then some people on the right were like, he's racist against white people. Well, then another Republican said, so that might have been a charming little video between him and Kamala talking about white guy tacos and everything. But he was even lying about that because there was a taco making contest a few years earlier and he won. And he was using green chili peppers. So he lies. He's not a white guy taco guy. He even lied. If he lies about that. I'll play you something vile, and then I'll play you something nice. This is how the Democrats now are reacting to the vile BS that Republicans do all the time, really. This is Nancy Mace on a show on CNN, and listen to what she does here.
Rerun Kamala's.
You had it right. You almost got it.
I will say Kamala's name any way that I want to.
So you hear what she did there. She said Kamala, which is correct. And then she stopped herself and said Kamala. And then everyone got on her. And then she said, I will say Kamala's name any way I want to. just to be a vile, there's no word I can use on the show to describe Nancy Mace. Let's see. No, I can't think of a name that would be either funny or appropriate on the show. Here's how then the Democrats reacted to it. You're going to hear the voice of Kerry Washington, an actress. She's introducing Kamala's grandnieces. And listen to this from this week's DNC.
It's come to my attention that there are some folks who struggle or pretend to struggle with the proper pronunciation of our future president's name. So, hear me out. Confusion is understandable. Disrespect is not. So tonight, we are going to help everyone get it right. Here to help me are some very special guests. Thank you, ladies. Can you tell us your names?
Hello, everybody. My name's Amara. And my name is Leela, her little sister.
And what are you here to do?
To teach you how to say your auntie's name.
Okay. So, how do you pronounce it?
First, you say comma like a comma in a sentence. Then you say la like la 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 la.
Put it together, and it's 1, 2, 3. Kamala. All right, so let's practice.
Everybody over here, say comma. Everybody over here, say la.
Together. For president.
Yeah, it's so nice. As you can tell, I get a little verklempt. That's the kind of guy I am. I wish you could see it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Go find it on, just go to YouTube and put in how to say Kamala. And you can find this video. These two girls are just relentlessly cute. Anyway, I have to get my bearings back. Because I'm a little like Gus Walls, actually. I get choked up when I see something happy. I get the happy tears. So I don't know if you've heard about this. When Tim Walz was doing his speech, it was so exciting, and he said the names of his family and said, "You are my whole life." Gus Walz, the 17-year-old son of Tim Walz, was already tearful. I'm getting tearful again. And he stood up with tears in his eyes and he yelled, "That's my dad!" And it was such a touching moment to us humans. You know, we've run out of time. I'm going to give my analysis on this whole Gus Walz thing when we come back from a short break. All right? See if I can stop my own tears here. They're happy tears, though. They're happy tears. I can't handle things like that. Anyway, I'm Todd Mikkelson, your host on A Satellite View. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Satellite View. Todd Mikkelson, your host here, speaking at you from the 24th of August, 2024 in the Space and Time Continuum. We're back for our second part. By the way, we were talking about Kamala's speech last Thursday night at the DNC on Truth Central, or whatever it's called. Donald Trump's, I copied Elon, I copied basically his copy of Twitter. He posted during her speech, which was, I think, a little more than an hour, He posted 59 times during her speech. That's nearly once a minute. Things like, "Where's Hunter?" I mean, just crazy stuff. So he's unraveling. And then I played you a little clip of him calling in right after, where he was accidentally pushing the buttons on his phone while he was talking, and he was doing one of his rants where they didn't know where to cut him off. Here's my analysis, though. I said when we left the first segment, when we come back, I'm going to do an analysis of this Gus Walz thing, but it goes further than just the Gus Walz thing. Witnessing Gus Walz be so proud of his father, who is running now as for the vice president of the United States, and him kind of just losing it. He does have some learning disabilities. I think he has some issues like that. I don't know. I may have some of those things undiagnosed, but most people, with or without any of those ailments that he has, would very naturally react the way he did because they're a human being. Most people lost it when they saw him losing it in a happy way because we're human beings. Ann Coulter, she posted a picture of him pointing at his dad in tears, proudly yelling, "That's my dad." Happy tears because Gus Walz is a human being. And her caption was, "Talk about weird." And I'm sure she thinks she's super clever because they call us weird. Look at this. This is weird. She pulled it down because she got tons of clapback. Okay, my friend Doug told me I shouldn't use the word tons. Tons of. She got an immense amount of clapback from an immense amount of people. It's a little dig at you there. No, it's not a dig at you, Doug. It's a little recognition. I'm trying to watch my use of when I just say tons of too much. I hate that too. Anyway. How deep in the weeds are we now with that? Too deep. She pulled it down after she got reprimanded heavily by human beings, which she is not, clearly. She said, "Well, I found out when he had these issues, I pulled it down." Okay, so you would have left it up if he didn't have the issues? Way worse than that, other people wrote. Just vile things they wrote about Gus Walz, a 17-year-old child. He's not 18 yet. He's a kid. You know, we left Barron alone for the last 9 years. We haven't said a word about Barron except for one thing I said, but it wasn't about him. It was just about his name. I'll repeat it. It's a joke saying, why did Donald and Melania name their child Barron? And it's because they wanted to name their child after their own souls. That's as far as we've gone. And that's not an insult to Barron. That's an insult to Donald and Melania anyway. Ann Coulter takes it down. These other people take it down because they just got so much blowback. Now, my theory is that these people have been powered, and this would include Donald Trump. They have been assisted by the darkness that has overtaken and came to a head in the last 10 years here on Earth. And the darkness has lifted. We've passed into a new era. It's kind of like we had to die before we go to heaven. Well, we're entering heaven now. The darkness is gone, and these people don't know how to operate. It's like the darkness came in and just wore their bodies like that alien in that movie where he wears the skin of the guy. Black Men in Black. It's like the darkness came in and used their bodies because they have no souls. So the darkness was able to come into their bodies and make them function and actually be potent. Donald Trump has lost his magic because the darkness has left his body and the earth. It feels like that, does it not? I mean, this DNC was such a positive vibe. Another thing is, everybody did such a great job. Usually in these conventions, it's one or two people. Wow, that was a great speech. Now, I watched probably 80% of the entire DNC 4 nights. Even the people who started off the evening, even people who were on at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, gave great speeches. Every single person that was on the stage in the DNC did an incredible job. It's like the whole thing was a highlight. I can't pick who my favorite person was or my favorite moment. There are so many ties for first place, as opposed to the RNC, where they had Hulk Hogan make a fool of himself, and who's that, Kid Rock come on and yell some kind of angry rap for like 9 minutes. And then Trump's speech, where people were falling asleep, compared to Kamala's speech, which was half as long as Trump's speech because her speech was the perfect length and his was 2 times too long. The split screen of the RNC, like, we will now call the roll call. Our first state is Alabama. Madam President, the great state of Alabama puts all of our delegates behind Donald Trump. And then the DNC. Alabama in the house. Alabama puts all our delegates between Kamala Harris, our next president. Music going. They had DJs going. They had like live music performance. They had a great live band playing incredible music the whole time. The whole thing, it was in the production level of it was insane. Every moment of the DNC was a positive. Even when they're digging on Donald Trump and the Republicans, it was a positive thing. And it's nice to see the Democrats finally figured out how to troll Donald Trump. And it's driving them crazy. It's driving him absolutely nuts. And that's great. That's what I don't know why we didn't start doing it 9-10 years ago, but we're doing it now. And by the way, talking about all the different speakers, I'm going to play you a snippet here. This is Stephanie Grisham. She was the communications director and press secretary for Donald Trump.
I wasn't just a Trump supporter. I was a true believer. He used to tell me, it doesn't matter what you say, Stephanie. Say it enough and people will believe you. Behind closed doors, Trump mocks his supporters. He calls them basement dwellers.
The thing that stood out to me, and maybe Stephanie has told this story before, but I had not heard it, where she said that Trump used to refer to his supporters as basement dwellers.
Yep, and I was in the room when he said, I don't want to shake hands with those dirty people, those disgusting people. So I think, you have his former press secretary saying this is what he thinks of his supporters. I personally detest the fact that he speaks of them in that way because it's so disrespectful. And what I think what really breaks my heart is just how much they rally around someone who really just doesn't care about them, like has complete disregard, has no identification with the middle class or the working class. And I think that's the contrast, right? You have Donald Trump on that ticket, J.D. Vance, who's constantly attacking women, and you have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who are saying, we know what it's like to work through college. I worked my way through college. Yeah. Like they can identify, right? He was, he supported farmers. Tim Walz was a coach. All these things that make me think of my dad. Honestly, my dad was a lifelong truck driver, and I see myself like identifying with this ticket.
Who we're listening to now, this is Olivia Troy. She worked as the main advisor and assistant, almost the chief of staff, to Mike Pence when he was Trump's vice president. She tells another story.
I do want to bring something up that Stephanie Grisham talked about last night that was very personal for me. She talks about what Donald Trump said when he went to go visit the ICU when there was an emergency and that it was all a media moment and what he wanted the cameras in there. What she's talking about, because I've had that conversation with her, she's talking about the day of the El Paso shooting.
Wow.
And, her and I have talked about that, what she was seeing from her perspective while I was living it, briefing Mike Pence about what was happening in the Walmart, while also telling people in the White House that my aunt was in that Walmart that day. And so I say that because as an American, think of me outside of just not a former Trump official. Think about being just a human being in that situation and seeing the president of the United States, and hearing him talk that way and thinking about that fact that, like, these are the people from your hometown community, and that could have been my aunt in the ICU. She was just very lucky that day that someone pulled her away. She saw the shooter. And to think that that's very real for me and the staff, because I know that Stephanie and I have had emotional conversations about that.
He wanted cameras in the ICU, intensive care unit. He shouldn't have even been in there. But he wanted to get filmed. Now, that was Olivia Troy. She also did a great speech at the DNC, not the RNC, the DNC. She's one of the Republicans who's joining the Democrats. Whether she changes from being an official Republican to a Democrat is beside the point. She's voting for Kamala Harris because she knows Trump better than any of us. These people who worked with him, how many now? 25 or so of his former cabinet members have signed letters saying he is unfit to be president. There were 0 former Republican presidents that spoke at the RNC. There were 0 former Republican, any kind of officials on the cabinet level of any kind, and no former cabinet level people wanted to be a part of Donald Trump's RNC. And we have, Jimmy Carter is unable to speak because he's almost 100 years old and he's dying. He's in hospice. Otherwise, he would have been there. And there was a couple weeks ago, I saw his son or somebody who's taking care of him, through this hospice thing. They said, I can't believe how long he's lasting. He's been in hospice now for months and months. So I asked him, do you want to just hold on until you turn 100? Do you want to get to the 100 milestone? Because I think he's just within a couple months of turning 100 years old. And Jimmy Carter said to him, no, I don't care about that. I just want to live long enough to vote for Kamala Harris. Yeah, that's another great thing. So he's the only former president who didn't speak. Our other remaining former presidents were very eager to speak. And a lot of Republicans wanted to speak. Adam Kinzinger, a lifelong Republican, still a Republican, he's the one who's saying, if you vote for Kamala Harris, it doesn't make you a Democrat. It makes you a patriot. He spoke, and he really validated all of the Republican support for Kamala Harris. He did a great speech, and all of these people who are maybe less recognizable, who are Republicans, who really wanted to speak at the DNC and tell everybody that they're voting for Kamala Harris, Adam Kinzinger gave the speech that really tied them all together. They're saying things like, you have permission. They're trying to give Republicans who don't want to vote for Trump permission to, yes, you can vote for Kamala Harris. You're not being a traitor against the Republican Party. Basically, the Republican Party is not in existence right now. We need to protect our American democracy, giving them permission to vote for Kamala. Now, I'm not playing you part of Adam Kinzinger's speech. I'm playing you another clip of him on CNN, and he makes a really good point that I think is really interesting.
Look, I thought her speech was good. Here's actually really good. But here's what I thought was interesting is Donald Trump has ceded so much ground that used to be traditionally Republican ground. So let's talk about national defense, Ukraine. This is all stuff Donald Trump should have been talking about at his convention if he was a little more of a traditional Republican. Kamala came in and took that ground. I mean, she wasn't scared to do like kind of the, we don't want to get to. She took the ground on immigration. She reminded people that he tanked the immigration bill. She took the ground on Ukraine. And I think if you're a undecided Republican out there, you look and you're like, it has to be tough for me to not vote for Kamala now because she literally gave me the things that I was concerned about.
The things they're concerned about as a Republican. I don't have time. I was going to play you a clip of this crazy guy, Eric Bolling, saying things like, They're trying to redefine the Democratic Party. He says Democrat Party, but I refuse to use the wrong terminology. They're trying to redefine them. They had camo hats that said Harris Walls on it. That's our thing. And when she was speaking, they had 2 American flags on either side of her. They didn't have a pride flag. They used the American flags. That's our thing. They're trying to say that that's only their thing. And also in the DNC, everybody was doing the USA, USA. Yeah, because that's our thing, just as much as it's yours. I'm not saying it's not your thing. It's not Donald Trump's thing. But that used to be, USA is the United States of America. That's all of our thing. It's not yours. That's how much they're losing their mind. Maybe I'll play that clip and tell you a little bit more about Eric Bolling next week, if I remember, but it's not all that important. I'll finish by saying $100 says J.D. Vance is planning to secretly vote for Kamala because he knows the Democratic Party will protect people like him. We will allow him to be his real self. We don't know what his real self is. When he was a kid, he thought he was gay. And then his grandma said, you're not allowed to be gay. So then he decided to hate gay people. But he still had cross-dressing moments in college. And I guess he liked that. That's okay with us. Democrats don't mind that. Democrats are happy for you if you're gay and you're able to be yourself. We allow that and we applaud it and celebrate it. JD, come over to our side. We'll allow you to be yourself. He's just a poor lost soul. I actually feel sorry for him. I think this is part of the darkness leaving Earth. I'm feeling sorry for a lot of these people for how miserable they are. Maybe not Donald Trump. I don't know, maybe not Ann Coulter. But they seem like it's very possible that they're not actual human beings. J.D. Vance, I feel like, is. And he has been told over and over again, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. So he's lost. He's a lost soul. He hated Donald Trump, and now he loves him. Really? J.D., really? $100 says J.D. Vance is going to vote for Kamala Harris and just not tell anybody. So we're having fun right now, and we're going to remain having fun for the entire rest of the summer. But we also got to pay attention to some serious things. Now, this week is all about celebration and having fun watching the Republicans either completely unwind or join us Democrats. So that's what this episode is about. The Harris campaign is going to get more serious. We'll get more serious along with her and help each other stick together to support her. We don't really have to try and keep each other sane anymore because everything feels completely different. We still will do that. We'll stick together to keep each other sane, but we'll also stick together to help each other talk to our friends and family members and neighbors about Kamala Harris and how powerful this new era is going to be with her as the president of the United States. So it'll get a little more serious, but it's also going to be fun. Like she says, hard work is joyful. We're going to put the hard work in, and we're going to make this an absolute landslide. Again, thanks so much for listening. We'll speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.